you're running a successful company. It's just interesting because my mind has been in that space of potentially just being one of the millions other entrepreneurs. What's your advice on how to build a successful startup, how to build a successful company?
I think that one thing I do like, and it might be a particular thing about America, but like there is something about like tell people what you really want to happen in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't stop. It's not going to make it. Like if you're asking someone to invest in your company, don't say, I think maybe one day we might make $1 million. When you actually believe something else, you're actually more optimistic, but you're toning down your optimism because you want to appear like low risk. But actually, it's super high risk if your company becomes mediocre. Because no one wants to work in a mediocre company. No one wants to invest in a mediocre company. So you should play the real game. And obviously, this doesn't apply to all businesses. But if you play a venture-backed startup kind of game, like play for keeps, play to win, go big. And it's very hard to do that. I've always feel like you can start narrowing your focus because 10 people are telling you, you got to care about this boring thing that won't matter 5 years from now. Right. And you should push back and play the real game.
So be bold. So both, I mean, there's an interesting duality there. So there's the way you speak to other people about like your plans and what you are like privately, just in your own mind.
And maybe it's connected with what you were saying about, sincerity as well. Like right. if you appear to be sincerely optimistic about something that's big or crazy, it's putting yourself up to be kind of like ridiculed or something.
Yes.
And so if you say, my mission is to go to Mars, it's just so bonkers that it's hard to say.
It is, but one powerful thing, just like you said, is if you say it and you believe it, then actually amazing people come and work with you.
Exactly.
It's not just skill, but the dreams. There's something about optimism that like that fire that you have when you're optimistic of actually having the hope of building something totally cool, something totally new. That when those people get in a room together, like they can actually do it.
Yeah.
That's and also makes life really fun when you're in that room. So all of that together, ultimately, I don't know. That's what makes this crazy ride of a startup really look fun. And Elon is an example of a person who succeeded at that. There's not many other inspiring figures, which is sad. I used to be at Google, and there's something that happens that sometimes when the company grows bigger and bigger and bigger, where that kind of ambition kind of quiets down a little bit.
Yeah.
Google had this ambition, still does, of making the world's information accessible to everyone. And I remember, I don't know, that's beautiful. I still love that dream of that, they used to scan books, but just in every way possible, make the world's information accessible. Same with Wikipedia. Every time I open up Wikipedia, I'm just awe-inspired by how awesome humans are, man. And creating this together, I don't know what the meetings are over there, but it's just beautiful. Like what they've created is incredible, and I'd love to be able to be part of something like that. And you're right, for that you have to be bold.
And strange to me also, I think you're right that there's how many boring companies there are.
Right.
Something I talk about, especially in fintech. It's like, why am I excited about this? This is so lame. Like, this isn't even like important. Even if you succeed, this is going to be like terrible. Like, this is not good. And it's just strange how people can kind of get fake enthusiastic about like boring ideas.
Yeah.
When there's so many bigger ideas that, you read these things like this company raises money and it's just like, that's a lot of money for the worst idea I've ever heard.
Some ideas are really big. So like I worked on autonomous vehicles quite a bit, and there's so many ways in which you can present that idea to yourself, to the team you work with, to just, yeah, like to yourself when you're quietly looking in the mirror in the morning, that's really boring or really exciting. Like if you're really ambitious with autonomous vehicles, it changes the nature of like human robot interaction. It changes the nature of how we move. Forget money, forget all that stuff. It changes like everything about robotics and AI, machine learning. It changes everything about manufacturing. I mean, the cars, like transportation is so fundamentally connected to cars, and if that changes, you're changing the fabric of society, of movies, of everything. And if you go bold and take risks and go be willing to go bankrupt with your company, as opposed to cautiously, you could really change the world. And it's so sad for me to see all these autonomous vehicle companies. They're like really more focused about fundraising and kind of like smoke and mirrors. They're really afraid. The entirety of their marketing is grounded in fear. Yeah. And presenting enough smoke to where they keep raising funds so they can cautiously use technology of a previous decade or previous 2 decades to kind of test vehicles here and there, as opposed to do crazy things and bold and go huge at scale, do huge data collection. I mean, yeah, so that's just an example. Like the idea can be big, but if you don't allow yourself to take that idea and think really big with it, then you're not going to make anything happen. Yeah, you're absolutely right in that. So you've been connected in your work with a bunch of amazing people. How much interaction do you have with investors? Like that whole process is an entire mystery to me. Is there some people that just have influence on the trajectory of your thinking completely, or is it just this collective energy that they behind the company?
Yeah, I mean, I came here and I was amazed how, people would. I was only here for a few months and I met some incredible investors, and I'd almost run out of money. And once they invested, I was like, I am not going to let you down. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I'm going to send them like an email update every like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they don't care at all.
Yeah.
So they kind of want to, I don't know, like, so it's for some, I like it when it's just like, they're always available to talk. But a lot of building a business, especially a high-tech business, there's little for them to add, right? There's little for them to add on product. There's a lot for them to add on like business development. And if we are doing product research, which is for us research into the market, research into how to make a great hedge fund, and we do that for years, there's not much to tell the investors.
So they're basically is like, I believe in you. There's something, I like the cut of your jib. There's something in your idea, in your ambition, in your plans that I like. And it's almost like a pat on the back. It's like, go get him, kid.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. And that's cool. That's a good way to do it. I'm glad they do it that way. Like the one meeting I had, which was like really good with this, was meeting Howard Morgan, who's actually a co-founder of Renaissance Technologies in the like 1980s, and worked with Jim Simons. And he was in the room, and I was meeting some other guy, and he was in the room, and I was explaining how quantitative finance works. I was like, so, they use mathematical models. And then he was like, I started Renaissance. I know a bit about this. And then I was like, oh my God. So yeah, but then I think he kind of said, because I was talking, he was working at First Round Capital as a partner, and they kind of said they didn't want to invest. And then I wrote a blog post describing the idea, and I was like, I really think you guys should invest. And then they end up.
Oh, interesting. You convinced them. Oh, that must be good.
They were like, we don't really invest in hedge funds. And I was like, you don't see like what I'm doing.
This is something
so
different.
A tech company, not a hedge fund, right?
Yeah, Numera is brilliant. It's when it caught my eye, there's something special there. So I really do hope you succeed. And obviously, it's a risky thing you're taking on, the ambition of it, the size of it. But I do hope you succeed. You mentioned Jim Simons. He comes up in another world of mine really often on the. He's just a brilliant guy on the mathematics side as a mathematician, but he's also a brilliant finance hedge fund manager guy. Have you gotten a chance to interact with him at all? Have you learned anything from him on the math on the finance, on the philosophy, life side of things?
I've played poker with him. It was pretty cool. It was like actually in the show Billions, they kind of do a little thing about this poker tournament thing with all the hedge fund managers, and that's a real life thing. And they have a lot of like World Series poker bracelet holders, but it's kind of Jim's thing. And I met him there, and it was kind of brief, but I was just like, he's like, oh, why are you here? And I was like, oh, Howard sent me, he's like, go play this tournament, meet some of the other players. And then
was it Texas Hold'em?
Yeah,
all that?
Texas Hold'em tournament. Yeah.
Do you play poker yourself, or was it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it was crazy. On my right was the CEO, who's the current CEO of Renaissance, Peter Brown, and Peter Muller, who's a hedge fund manager at PDT. And yeah, I mean, it was just like, and then, just everyone. And then all these World Series, like people I know from like TV. And Robert Mercer, who's fucking crazy.
Who's that?
He's the guy who donated the most money to Trump. And he's just like
it's a lot of personality
character. Yeah. Jeez, he's crazy. So it's quite cool how, it was really fun. And then I managed to knock out Peter Muller. I got a little trophy for knocking him out because he was a previous champion. In fact, I think he's won the most. I think he's won 3 times. Super smart guy. But I will say Jim outlasted me in the tournament. And they're all extremely good at poker.
Yeah.
But they're also, so it was a $10,000 buy-in. And I was like, this is kind of expensive. But it all goes to charity, Jim's math charity. But then the way they play, they have like rebuys. And like, they all do a shit ton of rebuys because it's for charity.
Yeah.
So immediately they're like going all in, and I'm like, man, like. So I end up, adding more as well.
So
like you couldn't play at all without doing that.
Yeah, the stakes are high. So, but you're connected to a lot of these folks. They're kind of titans of just of economics and tech in general. Do you feel a burden from this? You're a young guy.
I did feel a bit out of place there. Like the company was quite new, and they also don't speak about things, right? So it's not like going to meet a famous rocket engineer who will tell you how to make a rocket. They do not want to tell you anything about how to make a hedge fund. It's like all secretive. And that part I didn't like. And they were also kind of making fun of me a little bit. Like they would say, like they'd call me like, I don't know, the Bitcoin kid or...
Yeah.
And then they would say even things like, remember Peter... said to me something like, I don't think AI is going to have a big role in finance. And I was like, hearing this from the CEO of Renaissance was like weird to hear because I was like, of course it will. And he's like, but he's like, I can see it having a really big impact on things like self-driving cars.
Right.
But finance, it's too noisy and whatever. And so I don't think it's like the perfect application. And I was like, that was interesting to hear because it's like, and that I think it was that same day that Libra, I think it is, the poker playing AI started to beat like the human.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny hearing them like say, oh, I'm not sure AI could ever attack that problem.
Yes.
And then that very day it's attacking the problem of the game we're playing.
Well, there's a kind of a magic to somebody who's exceptionally successful looking at you, giving you respect, but also saying that what you're doing is not going to succeed. In a sense, like they're not really saying it, but I tend to believe from my interactions with people that it's a kind of prod to say, like, prove me wrong.
Yeah.
That's ultimately, that's how those guys talk. They see good talent and they're like, I'm
Yeah. And I think they're also saying it's not going to succeed quickly in some way. Yeah. They're like, this is going to take a long time. And maybe that's good to know.
And certainly AI in trading, that's one of the most philosophically interesting questions about artificial intelligence and the nature of money, because it's like, how much can you extract in terms of patterns from all of these millions of humans interacting using this methodology of money. It's like one of the open questions in artificial intelligence. In that sense, you converting into a data set is one of like the biggest gifts to the research community, to the whole, anyone who loves data science and AI. This is kind of fascinating. I'd love to see where this goes, actually.
I say sometimes, long before AGI destroys the world, a narrow intelligence will win all the money in the stock market. Just a narrow AI.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to be the one who invents that. So I'm building Numerai to make sure that narrow AI, uses our data.
So you're giving a platform to where millions of people can participate and build that narrow AI themselves.